welcome to a new video on advanced statistical programming in our series. Today we are going to be creating a Shiny app. So for that, let's start by loading that Shiny package. If you don't have it, you can install it using install.packages too. So after that, we are going to be creating the user interface, the UI part. And we'll use the fluid page layout with a sidebar layout containing a sidebar panel and the main panel. So before we start, fluid page creates a fluid layout that automatically adjusts to the user's screen size. Now let's begin. First we are gonna be calling the title panel function. So what it does, so as a title we will give Shiny app. Let's just say Shiny app, and then we'll create the sidebar layout. And sidebar layout basically defines a layout with a sidebar on the left and the main area on the right, which we are going to be creating now. First, let's create a sidebar panel. So this will contain the input controls, which are the widgets for user interaction. As widgets, we will first add slider input. We give the input ID and then the label, which is slider input. And the minimum number, let's give 1. The maximum that will appear in the slider, 100. The value 50. So this basically creates a slider for selecting a number between the minimum and the maximum, which is 150, and default value is 50 when we open the app. Then let's add a numeric input, and you'll also see what the input ID is for in the server part of the app. Numeric and numeric input. Then let's give as default 10, minimum 1, maximum 100. And this creates a numeric input field for entering a number between 100 and 1, and default value is 10. And let's create a text input. The reason I'm doing is to show you all kinds of inputs that might be useful for you when you are creating your own apps. Text input. Then let's give as default, I don't know, maybe type something. And then we have the select input. So for that we'll specify some choices, because this creates a drop-down menu, and the choices will be, first let's give select input ID, again select input, and now we will specify choices. You can create any number of choice you want. I'll be creating 3, choice 2 and choice 3. And then lastly, let's create a date input. And for the default value, I'll just give system.date, which is, as you may remember, the current date right now. So when you open this app today, it will give today's date, tomorrow it will give tomorrow's date, etc. And this date input field. So now let's move on to the main panel. Inside that, let's specify the outputs. Text output as output ID. And what did we have? We could give a table output too. And then we could also give a plot output. And then maybe another text output, but this time a different ID, maybe numeric text output. Amazing. Now we've done the UI part, and we can move on to the server part. So the server logic defines how the inputs are processed and how the outputs are generated. we will first, let's give server, we'll create a function which takes as parameters input and output. So this is the server-side logic of the app. The input object contains all the values from the UI inputs we've specified here, and the output object is used to send data to the UI outputs, which are defined in the main panel. So let's start by creating the value for the text output. As you can see, we use these IDs to reach to the outputs, and we'll do the same for inputs in a bit. So for that, we just say render text, and then let's print something. For example, you have entered, and now we'll, from the inputs, we'll take the text input, which is the which one here, text input. It has the input ID text. So this will give us, for the output on the main panel, you have answered with whatever you enter in text input. And then, so you have to put another bracket here. It's a little annoying, but okay, now this is done. Let's continue with the other output. Now let's do the output, from output, the table output. So for this one, we'll say render table. These are all pretty self-explanatory and easy to use. Let's specify a data frame and create a column named input type. And let's give as values to that column slider, numeric, text, select, and date. Then let's create another column called value. For that, as you may have guessed, from inputs we take the slider, we take the one with the slider input ID. From inputs numeric, from inputs text, and from inputs select. And for the date, let's turn that into character. From inputs date. Okay. Now this is done too. For the next one, we will create the plot. So for creating the plot, I'll just create a normal distribution of numbers. Let's first say output, plot, output, and again render plot. Let's create a histogram, R norm, and then we will put the inputs, like the input we'll give to the slider for the n parameter of R norm, which is the number of points basically. So you will be able to change the number of points in the plot. And let's give as title histogram of random normal distribution. And then for the last one, we have the numeric text output, which will again say render text, or you can also use reactive. We show that one. So this creates a reactive expression, which means that it wraps a normal expression to create a reactive expression, whose result will change over time. So this means when you enter the input box another value from the value you entered first, this output will change using that too. So you can use it interchangeably with render text. And if you want to add code also, instead of just using text input, you can use the verbatim text output to, you give as your code as text, but instead of text output you do that. Yep, here. Actually, we could have done it too. Let's maybe add this. For this, let's say numeric input is numeric. And for the last one, let him text output, let's say reactive. Let's for example say paste. And this should work. So now let's run this. And to create our app, we'll just say shiny app. Inside UI is equal to UI and server is equal to server. Let's see. And here you can see our app. When we change the number, so you can see changes. Let's give 30 and the numeric input is 30. Let's say, for example, hi our fans, and it's say hi our fans. Let's say chose 2, 3, and we have the for date one this, for example. And here you can see these. For this one, I think we should be seeing that too. Let me stop this. It gives an error, and let me see. It's 5.4. It's because there is a typo. It should be numeric. Let's try again. Then run the app. And now here we can see the table too. And if you change anything, R for example, it changes. 34. Anything. So that was all from this tutorial. I hope you liked it, and see you in the